Hey, welcome back, YouTubers, to the Evil Bad Book Club Breakdown, Chapter 12 of the Turner Diaries. So, in this chapter, we got Turner headed back over into Georgetown to try to link up with Elsa, the girl he had met a couple chapters back, and he's looking to find out if he can recruit some young people that are already doing some young people that are already doing some different terrorist activities. So apparently, there are other groups other than the organization that are doing assassinations, bombings, um, stealing, killing, all kinds of things. And so, it's obvious that the organization's people aren't doing everything that they're hearing about there or that's getting reported. So Turner goes to try to link up, with Elsa, use her as some sort of go-between, so he can meet maybe someone in another group or something that are doing these same type of activities to see if maybe they're compatible with the organization. So when you find Elsa in the book or in this chapter, you figure out that she shares a basement of this basically like a townhome is what I kind of assume it is. So there's like a basement, and they partition off, you know, the basement with like sheets, basically running sheets to make a little bit of privacy as far as sleeping areas and stuff. And it's kind of like a communal thing where there's like 8 people that live in the basement, and then there's other people that live upstairs and so on. So Elsa's group has the basement, and they basically share a television, and they're they're very limited in their resources, and they're just trying to make do. And they're all very young, in their late teens, maybe early 20s at the most, and they're trying to make do. And Turner, he tries fishing casually, through conversation to get information from Elsa, and then he basically gets fed up with the small talk, and kind of jumps right in. He wants to know, if they know who's been doing the bombing and stuff like that. And Elsa claims that she doesn't know, but she asks one of the other young people in there if maybe it's this other group, and if where are they at, and the other people in Elsa that's sharing that environment with Elsa, they get skittish because they think they don't know Turner, and he's obviously older, so they probably think he's a cop or some sort of undercover guy, so nobody really wants to help, so he kind of blows it. But it makes you wonder, in a situation like this dystopian world, where are you going to find your allies, and where are you going to find, help or people to come into your group? Let's say your group loses a member, where do you find somebody to replace them? You've got to either put yourself out there or go out there and try to recruit somebody. And that's going to be difficult because you've got to establish trust both ways. And I think that's what Pierce is going over in this chapter is, the complications of trying to build trust in a short period of time, especially with someone you're not sure of whether or not they have the same beliefs or standards. So, when you find this group, they're in that small area, basically, the young people aren't really working or anything like that. They spend most of their time just smoking pot and watching television. Not much different than now, except now they're smoking pot and playing on their phones. Um, so I keep looking down because I got some notes. So another thing you find is that there's basically a black market for slavery. Basically, they there was a disagreement between Elsa and another girl, and basically their group decided to kick this other girl out, and she didn't want to leave, so they basically tied her ass up and sold her off to someone that was basically going to take her and put her into basically like a sex slave, for a club up in New York, for wealthy businessmen and such. So I find that kind of interesting, especially because they're young, and it doesn't really say in the book how old they are, but they're definitely late teens, maybe mid-teens, like 16, 17. And then with everything else going on in our world, you think about, you hear all kinds of rumors and stuff about elites being pedophiles, and there being like human trafficking and everything going on now. So it kind of makes you wonder where Pierce got the idea for that, for this book. And then you also see that, that brewing in there. It also went over Elsa's family life. You got a little bit of her backstory about her mother and father, how they're basically liberals, and they sent her to a predominantly black school on purpose, because they thought that was going to be good for her. And then of course she has problems because she's one of two, I think, white females in the school, so she's obviously picked on, and being a teenager, boys will be boys, so the boys are pressuring her and stuff like that. So she's got issues at school, and her parents don't want to deal with it because they don't want to look like they're racist or anything like that. They don't want to rock the boat, so they don't believe their daughter, or they just don't care, or they don't want to be embarrassed. So it's kind of interesting, you see that with people now. If people are afraid to speak up if someone of another race claims that they've done something, sometimes the media anyway portrays that the white person right now is always wrong for whatever reason. And it's really strange how things have really metamorphosized in our country, where before, there was racism, for against blacks. You always, the blacks were getting blamed for this or that. Well, now the whites are getting blamed for everything. It's kind of done an about face, which is very interesting, especially when you take into account what's going on in this book. So it's interesting to see how the society's reacting to this dystopia, and it's interesting to compare our current situation with everything that's going on with the sickness and everything, and then you've got all these lockdowns and all that. We're either going into or are in the midst of a kind of a dystopian event ourselves. So, how is that going to play out? What kind of alliances are we going to have? You've already got the people that have had the special sauce are irritated with the people that haven't had the special sauce. And I think it's elevated, or their distaste or disdain for the people that haven't had the special sauce is that they're seeing all these other things that are going on, and they're finding out, well, it really hasn't changed anything. Everybody's, a majority of people have had the special sauce, but yet they're still talking about lockdowns. They're still talking about mandates. You know, life still hasn't went back to normal. And then on top of that, they've got to get another shot, and then another one. So, you know, it's really interesting to see how this is all playing out. And we're living in a current dystopian nightmare. And how's it going to play out? What's going to happen? Who's going to do what? You know, when's the top going to pop on this? You know, all these things are just insane to watch and observe. You know, as it's happening. You know, I don't know everyone else's experience with what's going on in their lives, but I see what's going on in mine and my family's, and it's just wild. So that's my breakdown for this. You know, I don't want to get off on a big tangent. I'll probably throw out a video about that later. Actually, I did. If you check, is the video I dropped before this one. Check that out. And then tomorrow I'll come back. We'll go over chapter 13, and I'll read chapter 13, and we'll do the breakdown for that tomorrow night. I'll check you YouTubers out later. Stay safe.